Okay, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. This is Public Relations 101. Basically, this is a compilation of things that I've been doing basically over 2 decades, and also what we share and educate our clients on. And I know there's many people who are interested in doing their own PR, so this is how we're going to show you how you can do it. Next slide, please. So here's basically the table of content of what we're going to walk you through. Is quite detailed and extensive, so let's get started. Okay, so why media engagement? Well, the what's of media engagement, you will engage with the media in many ways. So that will be at press events, media interviews, FAM and junkets. So for those who are not familiar with FAM and junkets, let me explain. So a FAM is what they call familiarization tour. So a lot of this is happening in hospitality, and Thailand being one of the top hospitality countries in the world. There's a lot of FAM happening here. So when there's a new hotel or a new restaurant that's open, or when an airline opens up a new destination or route, they will usually take the media to do a FAM, to get familiar with the location, or get familiar with the new hotel or the outlets. Junkets are usually relating to like entertainment or movies, or I think we're going to have a slide that provides a little bit more detail. The other thing that's a little bit more common is news releases and press releases. And the other one, which I hope never happens to anyone, but it does happen, so I want to bring it up, is crisis communications. And of course, on the other side, you're going to need some kind of crisis management or reputation management. So why would anybody want to engage in media? Well, this is going to come a result because you want to storytell about yourself or your brand. It's part of the executive or CEO branding, which I mentioned earlier before we got started into these slides. It adds visibility and credibility, builds trust and a positive image. Well, because imagine if you are a brand and you have many competing brands. This could be, from mobile phones to vegan meat. I think that's what Sky mentioned at lunch today. So if you want to talk about how your product is different, what the unique selling points are, by sharing that story, giving the sample phones for the media to try because you want to show how different it is, or giving the media the sample vegan meat that you want to eat. I mean, you want to give it to them to eat because you want to show how it's very different or how much healthier it is. Then this is a way to get your story out there. And not everybody gets media coverage. Usually the media will pick and choose who they want to cover. And getting coverage adds credibility, especially if your news is positive, right? So if your news is negative, no, of course, it's going to damage your brand, your reputation in the marketplace. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is just an overview. As we're not going to go into too much details, but for those who are in the marketing meetup, if you have questions around, what is the press event, then feel free to, message me there. Basically, it's an organized gathering, basically, where we're going to share the news. We can do a demonstration with media representatives, and usually these are going to be announcements, and it gives like Q&A. And of course, people get to try something, right? So this can also happen in the setting of restaurants when they have new menus or they have a guest chef and they bring in the food media to come and do a tasting. So it creates buzz in announcement. Of course, as you probably see every time there's a launch, I believe there was recently a Samsung launch for S25. So they start talking about the product, and then there's like KOL and influencer marketing that comes up with that. It builds your connections to the media, the journalist and the reporter, and you are proactively shaping the narrative through strategic communication. in how you present. So there's usually a whole lot that goes into how a press event is prepped. We have a video on that in our YouTube channel. So if you're keen to see that, please visit it. If you're unable to find it, let us know. And the way to let us know is through the marketing meetup, and we're happy to share that link with you. Next slide, please. Press releases. This is probably one of the most common, and we're going to go probably into a lot more details about what is a press release and what makes it newsworthy. But also keep in mind that media gets like hundreds and major media outlets, you know, like the New York Times or the Financial Times out of the UK, if not hundreds, then potentially thousands of press releases. So why would you want to do a press release? Well, it's a way of providing the information in a concise, compact way. So it's an official information. It's considered an open letter, you know, because once you send in your news release or your press release, it's in the public domain. It's going to reach a wide audience because it doesn't just go to the news portal or the broadcast or the radio, but it can get shared again through social media. And of course, it's to establish your credibility. Next, please. Okay. Oops, no, can you go back to the FAM and check it for those of you who may be in, oh, here, okay. Butterfingers, right? So interviews, this could be in the form of one-on-one or group interviews. And there's also another form, which is kind of like a mini press conference, and we call that media briefings, okay? So interviews is one-on-one, or you can do one-to-group, and there have, I would say, between 3 to 5 that would be considered a group interview. And it is between, you know, the executives or the spokesperson or the brand owner or the expert at hand for that particular product or brand. And they're going to speak in this group. And it's usually, let's say, if you're a tech company, this because I mentioned Samsung earlier, you're going to speak, maybe you're going to invite, you know, a business media, a tech media, a lifestyle media, you know, because you have stories for each of those as part of this group interview. So this humanizes the brand and the individual, and it's a very direct storytelling, and you can answer some Q&A very directly. And of course, it's always about building the relationship. When you do any kind of media engagement, you want to avoid being a one-hit wonder, where you just do one-offs and expect the media to remember you. Remember, in the marketplace, you have a lot of competitors. So somebody's always vying for that media's attention and telling them their stories. So if you keep engaging the media, you're going to end up kind of like the industry expert for your particular product or, you know, for your market, your segment. Okay, next, please. Okay, this is the thing where we talked about press junket and FAM. I think I went more into what is a FAM, which is a lot for hospitalities and airlines and hotels and restaurants. So junkets, I'm sure you've seen when a celebrity gets interviewed by multiple different types of media. So that's usually happening at a junket. So they're going to be talking to them about either the product, the movie, or what's going on in the campaign. It's basically, it's almost like the media goes out of one room, goes into another room, and then interviews somebody else. They could be interviewing the director. Sometimes, as you probably see, you could have like you know, 2 or 3 of the celebrities. It's not in a press conference format. It's more of just like a small group, and there could be a major media interviewing them. So that's what a junket looks like. Next, please. Okay. I want to encourage you to take a picture of this or screen capture it, because if you're planning to do some news releases, this is going to be a great checklist for you. And this is going to be something you want to think about when you're planning for your press release or news release. So what is the objective of the release? right? So I had some people come to me and say, I have a blog and I want to send this out to the press. Okay. I'm going to come back to this point, but basically a blog, if it doesn't fit certain criteria for the media, it will not be considered newsworthy. So usually the news is dealing with something new. At the heart of the word news is the word new, N-E-W. So you also want to think about your target audience. It's possible that you have a launch and you can have 3 targeted different types of media. As I mentioned before with Samsung, you can have the business news, you can have the tech news, and you can have the lifestyle news. And each of these media are going to want something a little bit different from you in terms of the content, because the tech news, maybe they're much more interested in the engineering and the development of the product and its capabilities, whereas the lifestyle news is more interested in the use, how does it fit into my lifestyle? Is it a big item, small items? Can I take, beautiful photos on my holidays, that kind of thing. And the business news is going to be interested in, from the point of view of this brand, how many products will it roll out this year? How many of those products are targeted women, men, children, those kinds of things. So in terms of the business of that brand. So that's why you want to select the media and then also designate the date to be published. On this note, if it's anything relating to the business media, or I highly encourage clients that we do something between Monday and Thursday. Why? Because when you go more into Friday in the weekend news, usually you're going to end up with more entertainment and lifestyle types of news. And from the time that you send out your release, it could take up to 24 to 72 hours before your release pops up. So if you want to land your news, make sure that your targeted audience is going to be reading about you. Then if they're about the business people, then you want to get it in when the business people are, looking at the news, seeing what's relevant for them in the economy or in their industry. But if you're in the entertainment, lifestyle, hospitality, holidays, yeah, by all means, you probably want to push out your release something like Thursday or Friday, and you want to make sure that, the entertainment and lifestyle media are covering it. When we are more free with time, looking for restaurants to go to, or have time to shop for hotels or resorts for our next holiday, yeah. You want to create a new story that's tailored to your media and targeted audience. I believe I touched on that already. The other thing I think that's also very important is making sure you have images and photos that accompany the story. The way we put together our media folder, which is like a Google Drive and a link and a QR code to the media, they're all high resolution, and sometimes we have to color correct or adjust to make sure that they're nice, they're clean, and they're neatly presented. And we always want to have like vertical and horizontal, or portrait or landscape, however you want to use those words, so that the media, when they want to lay it out, they have different options. So we want to give them as many different photos. Usually for typical press release, I would go up to 6 to 10 different photos that they can use. And sometimes some media, once you send the release to them, they'll go, okay, I don't want what every other media outlet is getting. Can I get something different? And if that be the case, it's a good idea to accommodate them. On average, a news release is 300 to 500. I've had some clients who wanted to send out 6-page press releases or 12-page press releases. And I caution them, because when the media receives the press release and they open it and they see that it's very long, they will delete it. Why? Because if you have that much to share, it's probably better to happen in a different format, which is perhaps better in a group interview or a mini press conference or a press conference, because that's just a lot of data to go in. And it's better to have an actual discussion and engagement in a face-to-face versus a press release. And it's always important to include a contact detail of the person who knows everything about this release. So in case the media have any questions, and you got to provide email, telephone numbers, sometime my IDs and all these other stuff, because for the Thai media, they really like to chat through line, because they could be at a press conference. Maybe they're not gonna, for someone else, but they're not able to pick up the phone, but they can chat with you, ask questions so that they can update their editor or sub-editor and help to get your story published. You want to write the release in non-technical ways as much as possible. You want to avoid using technical terms or jargons that's very specific for your industry, because the media's, although they're tech media, they could be tech media for telecommunication as well as mobile phones. Maybe they don't remember all the tech jargons. If there's no other word for it that you could use, then provide like a glossary is good as an explanation as to what is this terminology. And because of the use of AI in writing anything, I highly recommend that everything is fact checked and it's all correct. And grammatically correct and spelling is correct before distributing to the media, both in any language for the media, because sometimes the media sees it like if you give them something that's full of errors and mistakes, and they're going to have to spend a lot of time correcting it. Sometimes it's like too many competing stories and somebody else is giving something to them that's a lot easier to cover. They could end up picking up somebody else's release versus yours. Next, please. Okay, so types of releases. We're going to fly through these, okay? But feel free to let me know if you have any questions at the end, okay? So type of releases. You can provide, this is just a general news release. So it's for business. We recently put out one. It was actually for business and marketing. This is about the changing of our slogan, and we also shared stats from Accenture and Elderman. Next, please. This is a launch release. So this is going to be associated with a new product or service that's launched in the industry. Next, please. Product release. This is something that we did for Cookpad, and it was, there had been in the market, but had never announced their product to the market in terms of what they do and how they do, and that they want new users to join their platform. Next, please. This is staff and executive announcement release, especially people who are high profile in the industries, they're well known. When they move from one company to another, usually the company wants to announce that this person is now part of their team. Next, please. Expert positioning release. This is a release that we did on gender responsive communication and what brands should know. So this is sharing expertise on a topic that's specific for the industry. For us, this is about how to address news content in a way that's gender responsive. Next, please. Oops, correct. Calendar news. Calendar news for us, I think we do one almost every week. This is basically announcing events upcoming. I'm sure you might have been on some of the sites where they regularly say, okay, this is what's happening. It could be like Time Out, it could be 10X Thailand. There's many news portals that publishes happenings and events and webinars and seminars. Next, please. Right. Product releases. I think we talked about product release a little bit earlier. Perhaps it's just like a duplicate. Okay. Next, please. Okay, by the way, that last photo, that was Inner Systems. And Inner Systems have a ERP for hospitals, and it's called Fast Track. And that was then with, I think, with Honey Hospital. So now let's go to what makes it newsworthy. Okay, so the reporters, journalists, and editors are always looking at time. What is this story like relevant to this time and date? How is this significant? Who's affected by the stories? Like whether it's the PM 2.5 or the fire that happened in LA, or floodings that happened in the South. So please note, this is not just relegated to disasters. It could be many things. It could be also positive news as well. Proximity, how far or close is that story taking place relative to the publisher, the media themselves? Let's say if you're in the Philippines and you want to get news coverage in Thailand, but there's nothing that's relating back to Thailand on that news piece, then a Thai media may not pick up the story because they don't see how is that in proximity to Thailand as a country. Human interests, so this will appeal to the human emotions, if you will. I'm sure that you've probably seen things like the stories of people's, what they're doing in evacuating from a situation, or dogs being saved and things like that, families getting help. So these, as far as we have come in terms of our development, technology, and so many things, at the end of the day, we're still human, we're still very social, and we're still in many ways tribal. So we are interested in the stories of other people around us and what they can teach us. Okay, so this is what makes the news interesting for the media. Now, is engaging the media then guaranteed? I have had many conversations with various clients over the last 16, 17 years, where we sent out a news release and they said something like, oh, I thought that would be in front of the, Matichon or Komchatluk or Bangkok Post or something. And it's like, well, if it's not earth shattering, it usually won't be that way. And the reason why engaging in PR is not guaranteed, so next slide, please. Why it's not guaranteed is because it's earned media. So imagine you in the position as an editor, or the executive editor, or the reporter and journalist. There's just so many competing stories, right? Unless you're paying for a space to appear, whether online or appearing in a broadcast at a certain time, some things may happen through the course of that time, and it could cause the editor to change and make a different decision at the last minute and choose a different story and run with it. So, for example, when there's a coup, right? So you could have a great story coming out about your product that you're about to launch, and you want to invite the media, and you send out a teaser, and then all of a sudden the country has a coup. Now, everything about the newspaper or the radio or the broadcast or internet news portals, the coverage is all about the coup, and that it may go on for the next 10 days or so, right? Until maybe there's some situation that kind of calms it down. That's what happens sometimes. So that's what I mean. Like, your news could end up getting superseded by a situation, an environmental situation, a crisis, anything. And they will make a different decision unless you paid for that space. And sometimes, even if you paid for that space, because what's happened could be so earth-shattering that the media may be reaching out to you and ask you to delay to share that ad or that advertorial. If you're not clear on what is an ad and an advertorial, let's give you an example. An ad is more like an announcement, and it's more graphic. An advertorial appears like a news article, but what you'll see, right, in small print, it will say sponsored. Okay, next, please. All right. How to strategically re-engage the media. If you're pitching to the media from an earned point of view, well, you want to either wait it out. Let's say, okay, the coup happened. You're going to give it a 2 week window. because they probably might have easily just chopped your emails. I want you to know, you should not expect the media to behave like a corporation where you send in an email and they're obligated to reply to you. Actually, that's not the case. If something has superseded, you haven't contacted them to ask them to consider your release, then it's possible that they just chop it and they've moved on. And they may have not even seen the story to begin with. So if you wait, like, a 2-week window just to resubmit the story again. The other way that you could do it is to resubmit the story with new edits. Remember, because it's about time and relevancy and proximity. So to add something in there, if it is, something that you could tie back to the story, or you can rewrite the whole news release again from a different angle and then repitch it. I want to clarify what I mean when I say pitch. When we pitch, basically, we have a news release, we point out 3 unique and interesting about the release, and we call the media to pitch them the story. Okay, next please. All right. How to strategically engage with the media. I want to share with you this story. This is coming from the ASEAN Foundation, which is based out of Indonesia for this period in time until I think it rotates. The ASEAN Foundation had gotten in contact with us about their Data Science Explorer release. And they said, oh, we want to share this because in the future, we may also have a similar program. And we like to have more Thai youth be part of our program. We said, yeah, okay, great. Can you tell us about it? And they showed us the release. The release was 3 pages long. And remember how I said it should be between 300 to 500. This is not us dictating the content. Actually, many media has told us to keep it at that. So if you're wondering what's 300 to 500, basically is 1 page to 1.5 pages on an A4. And that would be probably font size 12 or 13. And then, as I mentioned before, anywhere between, 4 to 10 photos that's both in portrait and landscape. When we talked with them about this, I said, okay, your release is long. Everything is about the regional news. There's nothing very specific for Thailand. But something, there was some special stats that they provide, which is about how, if I'm correct in my memory, it's like 72% of ASEAN youth are not digitally capable, meaning like they consume digital content, but they don't know how to make digital content. So they're, what they want to do through these Data Science Explorer competitions is to engage the youth and increase digital talent and literacy. So I asked them, I said, hey, what do we know about the Thai team that competed in 2024? Can I get their story? Can I get their photos? And I also want to kind of like backtrack, because initially when they had did the story in the past, they didn't get a lot of traction because they just pushed it out themselves, and it was very regional type release. And they were hoping to get better traction by working with with an agency that's locally based in Thailand. And by giving those advice, we were able to increase news coverage because we talked more about the Thai team and their involvement in the competition, and mentioned their names. And we also had photos of them and the fact that they won the 3rd place, that it helped to get pick up on the story. And the story is inspiring for Thailand and also the youth. Next, please. Okay. How to pitch to the media reporters and editors. Next, please. All right. So I want to give you some insights on how you can do this for yourself. So you want to research and understand the media. You want to know, okay, if I'm targeting, let's say, women who are pregnant or women who are mothers with toddlers, what magazine, news media are they consuming online or in print, or what YouTube channel or podcasters are they listening to? And who are these people? So then I start to build up a database, because as you know, people move around, they change their jobs, and what we notice often is if somebody has been a journalist in one media outlet, often they'll go to another media outlet and work there as well. You want to craft your messages that you're gonna pitch. So you want to make your content newsworthy, and we already gave you the background on how to do that. So also gave you a background on how to invite them. And this one I talk about if you have like a news release about your new technology for sports company. So who you want to pitch that to is probably business news, tech news, and sports media. Okay. The other thing that you want to do is contact and have a conversation and follow up. If you're a one-hit wonder, you're not going to get a lot of attention from them. So if you give them a lot of attention and help them understand about you, you could become, the expert that they come to when it's that specific towards, let's say, business, tech, and sports. So in their mind, they're going to remember you on these bases, and they're going to remember to reach out when they have a question around those three types of things. The other thing, what you want to do is, in order to keep in touch, is regularly schedule interviews or media lunch when you have something new to share. Send out press release that's relevant for their media. Next, please. Okay. Here's an example, and I only took one, but you can go to any media outlet and you will find that they'll have a contact sheet, okay, in their section, and it's usually going to fall under about, like, who's the editor, sub-editor, different reporter for the either this particular desk. They call them desks. Let's say, for example, if you're general news, then that's a general news desk. And then there's a financial reporter, there's a tech reporter, there's a lifestyle reporter. But as the media shrunk over the last 14, 15 years, that we've noticed that some, let's say, the business reporter may end up doing both business reporting and financial reporting. So can you see on here like smart money versus Gcash? So if you go and look up, and it says this article is by Michael Cordon. Okay. The other one you will see like Beyond Policies Why Solo, maybe Indonesia's next tech hotspot. That's by Jofi Jordan. So what you want to do is then look these people up. If they don't have the direct contact in this news page, then look them up on LinkedIn. And the other thing I want to share with you is 90% of news reporter that I've come across during my time now, having worked in this industry for the last 20-some years, they usually like to use Twitter. So, or X, as we call it now, according to Mr. Musk. So if you go and you look, you're going to find them. And you can tweet to them and let them know that you like to, message them about a story, and if you could get their email so that you can pitch them a story. Next, please. Okay, make it easy for the media. I cannot stress this enough because you don't want to make it hard for them. I've met various people of all walks of life from different types of business. And some just go, well, if they're really a reporter, then they'll want to dig into my news story and this and that. The reality is there's fewer and fewer journalists and reporters. And if you make it too hard for them to use your content or news release, then there's a high chance that they may scrap your story and go to the next one in their inbox. So next, please. One of them you want to do to make their life easy is avoid pitching randomly to the wrong media, because they will eventually block you. So for example, if your news is about entertainment, new restaurant, and you have a special show and this and that, and basically you're targeting the people who are on holidays, tourists, and people who love going out and watching shows, and let's say you send that to the financial news, and you do it once, twice, they're going to block your email. because it's going to show that you don't know who this person is and what kind of media or content they cover. And they're not going to explain it to you, but what they're going to do is just block you. Okay, so please be mindful. Next, please. Okay, you want to use media-friendly format. Again, this is about writing in a journalistic style, not too much jargon. If you can't get away from it, then add a glossary. High quality photos, that means high resolution videos and infographics. You want to be accessible because you want to provide, if you see a missed call, you want to call them back. You want to be available to clarify any questions promptly because the news is running 24/7. You want to provide clear and accurate information, cite sources in your releases. You want to make sure spelling and grammar is check. Next, please. Okay. The 4 E's of media engagement, and I'm sure you've probably seen this. The 4 E's is the news is about excitement, entertainment, encourage, and educate. So excitement, you can see it's like enthusiasm for a new product that's going to revolutionize some way that we live, you know, like let's say ChatGPT, right? But also excitement can be in a form of sensationalism, and it could be towards shock as well. Entertainment, of course, you know, entertainment could be the arts, it could be music, it could be, you know, comedy shows. Encourage, it could be something that's inspiring for the viewers or the readers of the media. And to educate is imparting knowledge and insights and understanding. Every morning I turn on the TV, it defaults to Thai PBS. And there's always like the variety show that comes on, and they're always talking about something quite educational. So this is basically the area in which you want to look at for your, when you create content for your news release or prepping content for an interview or a group interview or a mini press con or a large press con. Next, please. Okay. Post-media engagement, what to do? I actually had somebody ask me this. They weren't my client, actually. They were someone else's client. And he said, I got so many press releases that I did with this freelancer, and I don't know what to do with all my press releases. And I said, oh, then let's talk about that. So I end up, after that discussion, turning it into a video, which is in our YouTube, but I also want to share with you what to do. Next, please. Okay. You want to thank the media, and the way that you want to do that is like sharing it on social media, tweeting. I don't know, do we call it like, is it still tweeting or is it Xing? What to call it? To the media, just to say thank you, because when they see their link that's in your social media, they know they're being thanked as well. That usually shows up in the analytics. You could take your press release and repurpose that content into your e-newsletter or social media posts. You want to track various media coverage because you want to do the reports, because you also want to compare your news releases to see which one are getting more coverage by the press, and to see how you can adjust and optimize to get more coverage. Is it because you don't have enough medias in a specific category, or you need to reach out to some more? Or you could also contact some of the media that didn't cover your news just to find out, you know, hi, how can we improve this? What kind of stories are you looking for? So that's way of, you know, analyzing how your news release or press release are performing. Next, please. Okay. Showcase your news coverage and social media e-news. I mentioned that already. You want to engage with some kind of feedback to the media, you know, saying, oh, I have, let's say you have some stats around, you know, how we, new ways that we're using our mobile phones or something, and you want to share an updated research with that same media. So that's a way of giving them feedback. Evaluate and improve. So analyze, you know, how well you're doing. One thing I do want to tell clients, because I meet some that go, can I have a news release every 2 to 3 days? And I want to have 20 news releases in a month. Okay. When you're doing something like this, if you're not changing the way that you write. Let's say, for example, I'm going to give you an example of what we did for PepsiCo product, which is called Sunbites with fiber. So Sunbite with fibers, we could target 4 different types of media. So one is like lifestyle, the other one is business news, the other one is health, and the other one's women. So if we could generate every week news that's new and relevant to the product in these 4 media types, then it's possible. But if you cannot, then basically the media may treat you as somebody who's just spamming them and blocking. It's still echoing? Okay. All right, so moving on, please. Thank you. Okay, key takeaways. Woo, just 3 o'clock. So sorry about the tech issues today. You want to engage the media effectively using press releases and interviews, and events and junkets, right? You want to plan for those. You want to make sure your content or your preparation for the engagement is newsworthy. You want to make sure that you use the PR checklist so that you have clear goals and who and which media this is for, what's your storytelling, and that you have a media-friendly format. You're making it easier for them to want to take your news and share it or publish or come back to you and talk to you and ask more questions. And you want to have a post-engagement strategy, yeah? So that it's that you're improving your processes, you're looking at, why is this press release better than this? And we can have an internal discussion. In digital marketing, we call it sometimes A/B testing as well. So you can do that as well. So this is PR 101. I hope you guys liked it. If you have any questions, do you want to share that in the chat and let me know and I can answer. I'll give you guys like a couple of minutes to type things in. So no questions. All right, so I hope that you guys are able to hear me okay. I'm sorry again for the technical hiccup that happened today, but I'm glad you were able to join us. And we look forward to welcoming you to our future webinars. Sawadee. Thank you, Estelle.